Final Destination 2 enters that tricky sequel territory where it's like, okay, how much of an original type of story do we tell here, and how much do we kind of connect it to the first movie? In this movie, it feels very much like it's a direct follow-up to the first movie. It actually takes place a year after the events of Final Destination 1, and there is a character that returns, Ali Larter, who actually, I think she's top billed in this movie, which is interesting because she's more of like a supporting role in the movie, but it mainly follows this one girl and how, just like in the first one, she has a premonition of a terrible disaster, and this time around, instead of a plane crash, it's a car pileup. So it's this intense scene once again with horrifying deaths all over the place, and I think this time around they're a lot more confident in the formula that they set up with the first movie, and they're a lot more confident in kind of having a funner time with the movie, so we don't get too many scenes of like the aftermath of the horrible accident, and them feeling all down and depressed about it and things like that, because who wants that, right? They kind of keep it a little bit to the minimal there, and the movie it does have fun, and it does have some good misdirects too, because you see the opening scene with the girl and her friends, and you kind of think, okay, so it's going to be kind of a similar thing as the first movie. She'll convince her friends to get out of the car and not go on the highway and avoid the accident. They'll all have to kind of deal with it together. Meanwhile, I guess her premonition is very, very detailed, because she knows the fates of like all the cars that were behind her at the time. So really what it's about, spoilers, her friends actually die when she steps out of the car at the insistence of an officer, a patrol officer on the road. And it's mainly dealing with all these strangers in the car behind her, and I think that's kind of a nice twist. It's like, well, with the first movie we have these people from the same school, they all kind of know each other. Here we're kind of throwing in people who don't really know each other that well, don't really have much of a reason to trust each other really well, and put them in this crazy circumstance. But do they have a connection? Aha, that's the question of the movie. And so it's all kind of about that, and kind of like, oh yeah, a year ago this kid, he's had a vision, he got off the plane, and death was trying to get them again. It's like, boom, nailed it. 5 seconds exposition, great. So it's really all about once more trying to avoid death. And there, the death scenes might actually be the best in the series. Actually, with some really good ones. There's the one guy who's a millionaire, and kind of like, it begins the guessing game of how is this person going to die. Okay, so we see this little hint here. So is it going to be a fire that kills him? Or no, is it going to be the ladder that kills him? Well, no, the ladder stopped. I guess it's not going to... Oh my god, the ladder killed him right through his fucking eye. And it's pretty good. I think it's good stuff. And even like the dentist office, like that's a horrific kind of opportunity to show something go terribly, terribly wrong. But it's very playful with that, and you don't quite know what might happen next. So I liked all that. I liked the death stuff to it. I liked how they're embracing a little bit more of the silliness. But again, with the second sequel in now, I think there is still a little bit of a struggle. And much like the first one, just a little bit over-plotting, because I think the biggest downfall of the movie is that it tries too hard to connect to the first one, actually, where it's like, all these people, they actually have a direct relation to the events of the first film. Like, I was the officer who scraped up Sean William Scott's severed head in the first film. Oh, I replaced that teacher from that school who died, and things like that. So they all have some kind of connection, which I think was a little bit unnecessary. And it's all kind of about this plot to try to cheat death and get it away where this woman who was pregnant with a child, that child wasn't part of the plan. So if that child can be born successfully, we can beat death and everything will be okay, and all that crap. And so it just gets a little bit too overplotted, and like, you're watching it and you're like, I'm fighting against this stupid plot. I just want to see people die, to be perfectly honest with you. And even that's a little bit tricky too, because much like with the first film, you don't know whether to feel entirely bad or not. Like, you see a kid die in the movie, like a 15-year-old kid, and you're like, am I supposed to be enjoying this or whatever? And a grief-stricken mother, it's like, really? Like, I don't know. So still the second movie, and I think the series is struggling to balance its tone, whether it's serious, whether it's a completely absurd comedy, and the over-plotting, the over explanation of the rules and things like that, where I don't know, it kind of detracts from my enjoyment. Either I want something that I can really get into, really take some kind of meaning out of, or I can just sit back, have fun, watch people die, because that's what it's all about, these stupid horror movies. So I feel conflicted about the second movie. I'll praise it absolutely for some pretty creative and fun death scenes, and if you can kind of ignore the silly plot, I think it's an enjoyable movie. So yeah, Final Destination 2, they're getting there. They're getting there, and I think the series still thrived after this one, in my opinion. So, what do you think of Final Destination 2? I'll ask you that. I mean, I know a lot of people say it's between 1 and 2. I personally, I don't think that. But what do you like better, Final Destination 1 or 2? That is my question to you. Please comment below. Let me know. And until next time, be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Visit Dare237.com. And until next time, I'll see you later.